Welcome to Everything CPA and Private Equity, where we unpack the evolving relationship between accounting firms, private equity, and other strategics. I'm David Wolfskehl, a partner at Whitman Transition Advisors.
And I'm Phil Whitman, CEO of Whitman Transition Advisors. And we've chatted with more than 150 private equity groups. We've actually closed over 40 transactions with those private equity groups. And we're bringing you firsthand insights from the front lines.
And whether you're exploring your first deal, putting your toe in the water, refining your strategy, we're here to guide you with real stories, expert advice, actionable takeaways. Let's dive in.
Welcome everybody to a special edition, and on episode number 4 to already have a special edition, you know it's a big thing of everything CPA and private equity. And today I think we have a great team to discuss our special edition, which is the second bite of the apple, and perhaps the second bite of the apple. You all know what went on. We're going to get in depth with it. And today I have David Kells, who happened to be the former COO of Citrin Cooperman. Great guest to have today, leader of our profit team. I have two top 100 influencers in accounting today. Probably said that slightly wrong, but two people who are at the top of their game. Terry Putney, who's done over 1,000 M&A deals in his career. Phil Whitman, the leader of Whitman Transition Advisors. And, you know, already at Whitman Transition Advisors, we've done 25 PE deals. So although we weren't involved in this, the depth of knowledge that we have about what's going on with the PE world, you know, is incredible. So let's do some rapid fire polling before we go around and share some insights into this. So do you think the partners of Citrin are happy with what just occurred? You know, if we could get a thumbs up, a thumbs down, the partners, the up-and-comers, are they happy? The PE firm who sold their piece of the apple? And so if we kept on going down, is there anybody who's unhappy with this?
No way.
Wow. So let's just put that in perspective, right? You might nitpick pieces of it, and we're going to talk about some good things or bad things. The PE firm's happy. The partners are happy. And so this can be concluded as nothing but a success. Now, that doesn't mean some individuals and some people are not going to be happy, but overwhelmingly, when you look at this, and does Blackstone make investments that they believe they're going to be unhappy with? Is that their thesis, hypothesis? You know?
Hey, David, you're talking about Blackstone, you know, the largest PE group out there. Blackstone coming into our industry, and I've been saying for the past 3 years, there has never been a better time to be a CPA or a CPA firm. And this second bite, absolutely amazing.
So first I want to get to you because you're the closest to this, Mr. Kells, and thank you, Phil. So, you know, give me some thoughts on this deal. You know, when you read it, what popped in your mind?
So what popped in my mind is kind of one overarching theme that whatever was projected to happen back in 2021 has happened. There was talk of a 3 to 5 year window on this flip, a talk of massive growth, a talk of opportunity for up and coming partners, younger partners, older partners. And I think top to bottom, if you talk to anybody in the firm and even outside of the firm from the private equity world, everything that was projected to happen basically happened. Like you said, there could be some outliers here and there, but I'm seeing a success story. And from everybody I'm talking to, it's a success story.
And Dave's talking to friends who happen to be there. So, you know, so Phil, any thoughts, you know, when you saw that first news come out, you know, what were some of those initial thoughts that you had?
So there were two things I thought. You know, in one of our episodes, it may have been the last one that we recorded, I had said, you know, based upon conversations that, you know, occur on a monthly basis, meeting with Alan Beatty, the CEO of Citrin Cooperman, that 2025 was going to be the year. Number one, what I was surprised about was that it happened within the first week of 2025. So that prediction, that was made, and whoever it was made by, that's already come to fruition. I think the other thing, that really resonates with me is when you have someone like a Blackstone coming in. I mean, if that isn't like the gold seal of, hey, this is a business that is desirous of someone like a Blackstone to be in, I think we're going to see, even though we've already met with 160 private equity groups, I think we're going to see a proliferation of even more private equity groups saying, hey, if Blackstone's in it, we need to be in this. We need to get in this. And I think there are a lot of them that already made that decision, but they don't even have their foundational firm yet. So lots of activity to come. And I think this, if nothing more, is validation that this is a very effective strategy for CPA firms.
And Terry, you probably saw the same article or a similar article, so you had some quick thoughts. So share some of those.
Well, the first thing that I think Phil was mentioning is that it's validation of the model. I mean, we've talked to hundreds, thousands of CPAs about this business model. And, there's always some skepticism. I mean, they're CPAs, they're by nature skeptical. And the skepticism is, one of the skepticisms has been, who's going to buy these guys out? I guarantee you the next thing is going to be, who's going to buy out Blackstone? But, the reality is that this has been proven. It's a proven model now. And I think that's going to make a big difference to the profession, because people have kind of been sitting on the sideline waiting to see how this was going to play out. And it really has. And the second thing that I've noticed is, in all the deals that we're working on, without any exception, it always comes up, what's the multiple? What's the multiple? What's the multiple? I've been hearing that for the 27 years now I've been doing consulting like this. And the real issue here is, of course, we heard what the multiple was. I mean, it went from 11 to 15. Okay, that was expected. But what really happened here underneath that is that Citrin Cooperman increased their profitability from $45 million of EBITDA to $215 million of EBITDA in 3.5 years. And that is way a much higher growth rate than their top line was. So things are happening within Citrin Cooperman, and Dave Kells can probably give us some insights into that are really fantastic improvements in the operation of that business. And I think that also is something people need to understand, that private equity brings to the table pretty smart people with a lot of resources in a different way of thinking, and is making the firms they've invested in better.
Yeah. And so just quickly, right? 15 times 45 is much, much less than 15 times 215, right? And, so that is a huge difference. And even if the multiple was the same, I think you could call it a huge win. And it isn't the same, but even if we were 11 at 45 versus 3 years later, 11 at 215, that's pretty amazing change. So Dave, I know you started some things, right, as you were getting Citrin ready to do the first opportunity, and I'm sure they accelerated those things and continued. So, share some insights into what drove that huge increase in EBITDA.
Well, it comes down to operational efficiency. We built, while I was there, we built certain tech platforms and practice management platforms and offshoring processes, and all of that laid the foundation for some of the bigger deals that they did post New Mountain coming in. So you take the Burden deal, which was the biggest deal they've done, and operationally you can basically fold in a huge firm pretty seamlessly, and take availability of economies of scale, and then ramp up all of your offshoring activities and really just streamline your process, right? The Citrin model is one operational platform. which inherently, right, is a more efficient way to run than having operations all throughout, the country or the world, and working on different platforms. So they've taken it and they've rolled with it, and obviously it's been successful.
Great. And Phil, you're a very future-looking person, right? So why don't you share, hey, so now Blackstone's in the marketplace. We got our first large flip of a very large company. So share some of the thoughts around the ripples that this is going to create in this industry.
Sure. So obviously, there are a couple other large ones out there. I think we'll see whether it's later in 25 or early 26. We'll probably see Eisner Amper transact and have their first turn. And I do believe, one of the things, as Terry was saying, everyone always talks about the multiple. It'll be interesting to see what their metrics look like, but I do believe they'll probably trade at a multiple even higher than 15. There are some first-time transactions that I've been hearing about. They haven't closed yet, but I know it took a multiple of over 14x for private equity to get to the finalists in one of these investment banker-led transactions the winner has not yet been announced. But I think we're going to continue to see increase in multiples. I think we're going to see, as I mentioned earlier, a proliferation of new players coming into the marketplace, new private equity groups. I think we're also going to see perhaps in 26, probably the first turn of one of these, constellation models, because again, we will be approaching, 3 to 4 years, and it's just a very, very exciting time. When I look at the change in the model, if we go back for a second, if we go back 3 years ago, when or a little more than 3 years ago, when Citrin first did this transaction, and Dave, I'm sure you will concur. I believe that the partner group all raised their hands and voted unanimously to do the transaction with New Mountain. And then, last year we saw New Mountain, I guess it was so successful and so profitable that they decided, hey, let's make an investment in Grant Thornton. So we kind of knew that something was going to happen with Citrin. But I have to believe that every one of those partners at Citrin and every one of those directors that, received some form of rollover equity, units, whatever they were calling them in their partnership arrangement. They're going to the bank with very nice checks and multiples of continued rollover equity that they now have with Blackstone, which is amazing.
And, for me, right, I see all the competitors, right? I'm at BDO this week, so I did a Chicago event. I'm doing a Florida event tomorrow. And a lot of the firms want to remain independent. And I think that's a great goal, and that's doable. But those firms also need to realize that the competitive landscape has changed. And although they want to remain independent, they're also going to have to change in response to what's going on.
Right, and David, look, I could see it with some of those smaller firms. All right, we're going to remain independent. It is going to be more difficult. I mean, Terry and I are working with $100+ million firm that the managing partner came to us and said, "I'm not getting any deal flow anymore. I can't just grow organically at single digits. I need to do M&A." He said, "I need a capital stack behind me." So he's going out and he's looking for a minority investor. I mean, I think ultimately the really, really small firms maybe have an opportunity to remain independent and continue doing it the way their grandfather was doing it. But for a mid-sized firm, I think it's going to be real challenging to go it alone.
And, Terry, if we go back to the American Express and the first time this roll-up model really, we never got that confirmation during that go round that this worked, and I believe Blackstone says this one. Is that fair?
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, obviously it failed. I mean, the consolidation model that during the 90s and through, around 2010 or so, was pretty much a failure. I mean, H&R Block and American Express, who were the two of the three major players, exited the stage. CBiz has survived, and CBiz is now doing really well, but it floundered, quite frankly, for a long time. If you measure performance based on stock performance. And so, there's a lot of lessons that were learned, I think, from that. And in talking to the PE firms that I've worked with, they know that. They see what went wrong that first time around, and they've addressed those issues head on. And I think they're looking at it as an entirely different approach to this than what was taken back in those days. The interesting thing when we talk about validation, American Express floundered for buying $1 and $2 million firms for about the first 5 years they were in existence. And then in 1996, they bought Checker Simon in Chicago, which was a $25 million firm. And at the time, $25 million firm was a top 50 firm in the country. And all of a sudden, everybody woke up and said, wait a minute, this is for real. I guess we got to start paying attention. And immediately after that is when CBiz came on the stage and when H&R Block entered the foray. And this kind of reminds me a little bit of that in terms of a wake up to say, wow, this really is real. Now, it's hard to really compare because we already are at the point where there's probably somewhere between 15 and $20 billion worth of accounting firm revenue that is owned by private equity at this point, or at least private equity has invested in. But still, I think this is a watershed moment. I really do think it's going to make a big difference.
And Dave, as somebody who was really involved in that, not in this, but in Citrin, anything surprises you that you saw out there?
Well, surprises a little bit the size of Blackstone, first of all. We were all asking the same question, who's going to be the player that comes in? But what it says to me, and from Phil, what you just said, we've been talking to so many different private equity groups. What this means is that there are many, many players here that are attracting many different flavors of accounting firms. We talk about the small firm. There's a major opportunity for a small firm to monetize their life's work, still do what they want to do, still service the clients they want to service, but in a larger footprint with some real backing. And every option is on the table. Stay what you do, doing, grow your own, niche practice area, grow with a larger organization, be a satellite of a larger organization that's going to roll up. And the model is working, and that's what we're seeing. So it's not really a surprise. The size and the speed at which Blackstone came in is a little bit of a surprise, but I think that's just an opportunity for the entire marketplace right now.
And Phil, I think maybe Terry asked the question, which I think in many ways is irrelevant, but let's go talk in this question anyhow, so where does Blackstone go? So number one, my thoughts are we have really smart people who I am confident have it figured out, have a plan, or will figure it out. But just in case they need some insights, Phil, what's your thoughts about who's next?
Yeah. So, well, I think there's a combination of things. So where do you go from here? I truly believe that there's still a myriad of growth opportunity for an organization like Citrin Cooperman with the backing of Blackstone to add significant additional advisory service offerings. I mean, let's look at this. And Dave, you're probably well aware of this. When Citrin did their deal with New Mountain, for whatever reason, the wealth management group didn't come along. And for the past 3 years, Citrin's been a large CPA firm without a wealth management group. Well, I can't imagine Blackstone not bringing on some sort of wealth management platform for the Citrin Cooperman client base. And I think there's other great areas. But let's fast forward 3 to 5 years. Blackstone's looking for a turn. We said this at the very beginning. Where is Eisner Amper going to go to when they're over $1 billion in revenue? Who's going to buy them? We never thought that there would be a huge PE group like Blackstone come in and buy a Citrin. I think for Blackstone, it might be an IPO. It might be, okay, we're going to take this and we're going to do a public offering in 3 to 5 years. It might be a sale to a pension fund, a forever holder of the firm where, the beneficiaries of the participants of the pension would be happy getting a 6 or 8 or 10% return on their money, which is very easily done with a CPA firm as part of their platform. But Dave, you probably could answer a little bit more because I know you were working on a PE deal with where a pension fund was involved. But in any event, it'll be very interesting to see. But the one thing I know is long before that happens, we're going to see multiple second bites at the apple for these 9 or 10 other, platform firms that we're working with. I think there's, I think at last count, there might be 24 or 25 active private equity owners of CPA firm businesses. And we're going to see a lot more second turns. I don't know that they'll be as lucrative in terms of multiples. That remains to be seen. And I don't think there are many more Blackstones out there.
What I would say, comment on that, Phil, is, what you're talking about is a lot of turmoil, right? A lot of disruption. But if I'm speaking to the average line partner out there in these firms, their life isn't disrupted much at all from their day to day. They're going to have opportunities from a monetary standpoint, the backing of a larger firm, the ability to sell more and diverse advisory services, but they're still doing what they love to do for the clients that they've been working with for years. So that disruptive element isn't really there for the majority of people. So I just, wanted to throw that out there.
So and one other thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Dave, because it brings to my conscious something that many managing partners and firms that are going down the private equity road say to me. Well, I don't know who's going to own me in 5 years. Well, look at this. How bad is it that Blackstone is the owner now, or partner now with Citrin Cooperman?
Right.
I don't think there's a partner in Citrin Cooperman that is saying, you know what, I didn't want Blackstone. I wanted, Apollo or someone else,
But I think that's a really good point, Phil, because I think that what we're going to be able to see is that at the field level, anything below the very top level management at Citrin Cooperman, you're not going to see any change at all. And you won't see change at the top level either. Just have them working with a different group of people. They go from whoever they were working with at New Mountain now at Blackstone. But beyond that, it's not going to change. And I think that this idea that somehow whoever owns me is going to make a difference to the operation is going to be proven to be wrong. It's not going to be an issue.
It's just a different capital partner and someone else sitting at the round table when they're having leadership discussions. And again, private equity, they do bring brilliant minds to the table.
And a new way of thinking about what this is all about. I mean, what I've seen is that they don't come to the table with all the preconceived notions about what the CPA business is all about. They come to the table with a whole new, fresh set of ideas and a different way of looking at it. And the big thing is this conversion from the partnership model to the corporate model. I think that if you understand what that means, and we don't have time here to get into it, but it's at the heart of this. Changing to a corporate mindset from a partnership mindset relieves you of all kinds of limiting things that the partnership model has built into it. And I think that this is obviously validation that it's working.
Sounds like a great session for a future episode, Terry.
Yeah, I think we should do that because it really is at the heart of it.
I agree with that. So before we wrap up this special edition on the Citrin Cooperman Flip, any final thoughts? Dave?
Only onward and up here for the entire industry. I'll steal Phil's lines. Never a better time to be a CPA at the moment.
And Phil, since your lines were stolen, any other thoughts?
Well, I don't think we could say it too many times. There has never, ever in the history of public accounting been a better time to be a CPA or CPA firm. That's for you young folks that are thinking about coming into it. It's an amazing business, but it's also for those of you who've built your life. And imagine this. Look at the way some of these folks are monetizing what they've built. Forget 1 times gross revenue. This is a much better succession model.
Absolutely. Terry?
Well, I'm just looking forward to, I think this is going to have a major impact on how enthusiastic firms are about taking on this new way of operating. I think this is going to alleviate a lot of concerns firms have had, and one of the big objections, and I can't wait to see. I think the level of activity is going to skyrocket.
And for me, I just want to remind everybody out there, whether you want to prepare for your big event, you have a profit team now help you increase that multiple, or you're ready to do it, it's still confusing out there. There's still lots of players, and we're here to help folks. And so while we end this, why don't we wrap up the same way we started? The partners at Citrin, they happy with this deal? Right? The younger up-and-comers, are they happy with this deal? The PE firm who took this journey, are they happy with this deal? So, Kells, why don't you wrap us up? And I think you started by saying how this was a success. So why don't you finish that way as well?
Yeah, successful all around and opportunity all around. Can't wait to help firms of all sizes navigate this journey.
Awesome. Well, to everybody, thank you very much for spending a couple of minutes with us. We're always here to help you. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and we will do our best to answer them. For Dave Kells, Phil, and Terry, appreciate you changing your calendar to make sure that we can do this, because this is a big deal, and I think this is worthy of a special episode, number 4, I think. So have a great day, everybody, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You.
Thank you for tuning into Everything CPA and Private Equity. Every episode brings fresh insight. However, there's always more to talk about. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe wherever you watch podcasts. Have a question or topic you'd like us to cover? We'd love for you to reach out to us. Together, we will help you navigate this dynamic landscape so that we can help you achieve your goals. Until next time, keep making moves that matter. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.